Kia ora koutou, Markie here. So this is a video with a topic, but will also be a bit of a nature ramble because there's all sorts of wildlife around at the moment, all sorts of kind of spring babies and all that kind of thing. So no doubt we'll get distracted at some point, and I'll show you something that's floating past or swimming past or flying past or crawling past. So first thing you need to know about this channel, if you've not tuned in before, is it's a YouTube channel. It's not a television channel, so therefore it's social media, so therefore it's like a chat. Okay, so it's an informal style. Don't expect a rehearsed scripted presentation. It's more like a chat, you and me sitting by the fireside or sitting by the lake, maybe on the bench, putting the world to rights. That's the style, and that's the way I roll. I can do kind of well rehearsed slick presentations when I really want to, but if I only put out YouTube videos when I was that were of that quality, I would never put anything out. So therefore this channel is rough and ready, it's conversational. I'm neurodivergent, so it has a neurodivergent style, so don't be putting snarky comments in the comment section, because it is what it is. Okay, and don't say things like get to the point, because the rambles and diversions and tangents are the best part of it, really. They're quite juicy and quite interesting. So if you don't like that style, go and find something else, and we'll part as friends, let's put it that way. So another preamble I'm going to say, because I haven't done the preambles for a little while on my videos. I also warn you about there's usually a shaky camera because I'm filming things on my iPhone and I just hold it up with my hand, and it inevitably shakes, or I kind of lose focus, or the camera drifts off in some weird direction. Also, I will suddenly reach for the sky like that. That's usually a sign that somebody's walking past, because I don't want to film innocent members of the public as they walk past. So yeah, the other big preamble is this is a channel whose purpose is to help people who have a form of OCD called retroactive jealousy. It's a horrible condition, and we have tons of videos on retroactive jealousy. Some are videos aimed at recovery, and are really kind of quite fundamental. So if you have that condition, check out the playlist for retroactive jealousy, and check out things like the antidote technique. There's a few other key core videos. We also have a free daily program of activities and things to watch, things to make and do, which goes for 35 days. So there's loads of stuff, and some of the RJ stuff is more academic, or more less recovery focused and more interest based. So I talk about songs that seem to express or cover the topic of retroactive jealousy in one way or another, and cover those on the channel as well. So they're all there, and they're there to help people, and that's the purpose of this channel. But we make videos about all kinds of things, because well, you have to, with a YouTube channel, you have to keep making content, otherwise everything falls apart. That's kind of how it's. I can go back down now because people have gone past. So this might seem like a weird channel, really, that focuses on retroactive jealousy, but most of the videos are probably on other things. But that's just the way it is, okay? And there's something for everyone, and that keeps the channel alive, because I don't just want to post stuff about retroactive jealousy just for the sake of it. I don't want to be scraping the barrel thinking, oh god, this week what am I going to talk about? Retroactive jealousy. Let's rehash something that we've talked about before, or talk about something very sort of peripheral. When I talk about retroactive jealousy or anything else, I want it to be meaningful and useful, or at least interesting. But having said, obviously it's not to everyone's style, so but that's fine. So that's our purpose. So just by watching this video or any of our videos, by doing things to support the channel, like subscribing, commenting, all that kind of stuff, particularly watching to the end, it helps make the YouTube algorithm promote the channel more widely. So that actually helps people with retroactive jealousy. So just by watching to the end of this video, you are, even if you're not watching, even if you just let it play and you go off and do something else, you are helping people who have a horrible mental health condition. So there we go. I could preamble on other things, but I think that's the main ones over. I'll give my paranormal preamble now. That's nice and alliterative, isn't it? I'm a serious professional. A psychotherapist. I work with a number of specialisms. Retroactive jealousy is one of them. It's not the only one. I also help people who are experiencing any kind of paranormal distress or trauma. What do I mean by paranormal distress or trauma? Well, it's very normal. We call it paranormal, we call it supernatural, but actually it's very natural and normal to experience weird shit, and people experience weird shit all the time. They don't always talk about it. As a psychotherapist, people tell me their secrets, and I keep them. And often people talk about weird things that have happened that they can't put into context, they can't explain. They're frightened that people will laugh at them or try and get them put away if they disclose things. But people experience weird stuff all the time. Weird stuff undoubtedly happens. What the cause of that weird stuff is, nobody knows. You know, there are theories. There's some very interesting theories, and I do videos on some of the theories. But I never present stuff from the point of view of, oh, this is caused by that, and that's definitely this, and you know, this is because it's belief based. It's stuff that we haven't established scientifically yet. I think we will at some point. So my theories are no better than anybody else's theories, apart from the fact that I've researched it more and maybe given more thought than a lot of people to these things. But I have no monopoly on the truth when it comes to these kind of topics. I have a great interest in them. I have an interest in parapsychology. I have an interest in people's experiences, the human condition. So therefore, that's another specialism I have, working with people that have, and that kind of broadens out as well to things like, you know, religious trauma, spiritual trauma, you know, anything really that comes into the categories of the kind of things that I suppose my main specialism throughout all the work I do. A thread that goes through it all, I suppose, is that I will happily work with people in areas and with issues that not necessarily every therapist would be willing or able or competent to work with, in a non-judgmental way. So that's the kind of the context from which I approach kind of weird shit, like paranormal stuff like the Mandela. I think I want to call it the Mandela syndrome. It's not the syndrome, is it? It's the Mandela. What do they call it, man? You know what I mean. Anyway, I've done the videos on it explaining what it is. So basically, it's based on Nelson Mandela. People thought that when he died and had his state funeral and all the rest of it, many people said, well, hang on a minute, I thought he died years ago. I can remember the funeral being on telly, and you know, all that kind of. So it's become known. It's now a thing, and more people report this. That they basically have a different memory of something than the actual reality. Okay, I wish I could remember that bloody word. It's not syndrome. Mandela. It'll come to me, or perhaps it won't. Put it in the comments if you. I've encountered a few. This is probably my third, which I experienced yesterday, and I was watching a very good video, like a documentary on the band. Mainly, no, I mean they've been around since the 60s, and I think they're probably still around. A band called Mud, and I had a Mandela event based on the band Mud, which I'll get into in a moment. So the Mandela events they're usually often about something kind of very public. So often it's stuff like people will remember a brand. A lot of the examples, because if you Google this, you will find lots of examples. And I've got a big crowd of people nearby that are all kind of they've got the nerve to be talking and laughing and having fun in the public park, which is how dare they. Hopefully they're going past. so we'll give you a bit of sky. So no, they're gonna stand in front of me and make lots of noise. I'll just wait a second because they appear to be moving on. There you go. There you go. Oh, whoops. Let's give you a swan. A swan and a reflection of a swan while we're talking about this. So there are often things like people will remember a particular brand that's always been a particular way, but they'll have a distinct memory of it being a certain way, and when they actually look at it, it's not that way at all. One example is the little man on the Monopoly board, and whether he's got a monocle or not, and things like that. So my previous 2 Mandela events, effect, that's the word, Mandela effect. Let's give you a little coot going by. My previous 2, one was Angela Lansbury, who died not that long ago, but I have a memory of her dying much further back, and it being on social media. And the other was the band Kiss at Castle Donington Monsters of Rock Festival, which I attended. I can't remember what the year was. I do a whole video on this. Kiss being on the bill of a rock festival, and me being there and having no memory of seeing Kiss, and actually thinking, oh, I'd love to see Kiss at some point, and then I realised that I had. So this third one, so again, get relaxing music. A lot of the stuff I cover is to do with music. So the band Mud. Sorry, shaky camera. The more I zoom in, the worse it is, because a little bit of shake gets exaggerated. Let's go back to normal. The band Mud, you probably don't remember them, especially if you're American. You probably don't remember them. They're a British thing. For me, they're very much associated with glam rock, and it was the kind of music that I heard when I was growing up, when I was very, very little. So think about glam rock. When I say glam rock, I'm talking about Gary Glitter, though we don't talk about him, do we? And Slade were part of the glam rock movement. I'm still a big fan of Slade. Who else? And then there were bands like Sweet as well that were in the same vein as Mud. And there were some of these bands were kind of a little bit heavy, but not heavy metal. They were kind of heavy rock, but it was very much a kind of glam style. Glam kind of describes mainly the way people, the appearance and the image, but there is a kind of glam rock sound as well, which kind of difficult to describe. I won't go into it in this video. Maybe we'll talk about it in another one. I'll talk about, in another video. I define the goth sound. Which is controversial, but there we go. So Mud, and they did this brilliant song called Tiger Feet, which I love to this day. It's fantastic song, and they were a funny mix, really. I actually went to see them probably 15 years ago, something like that. They don't record anymore. They kind of, I think they call it a nostalgia act. And it was interesting because they weren't quite what I expected. I expected them to be more glam rock, but they are actually sort of more rock and roll, actually. They were they seemed a bit more like Shawaddy Waddy. So they're an interesting band, but they have gone through different images and different eras. They've been around since the late 60s. Now, a bonus fact about Mud, as well as doing this amazing song called Tiger Feet, which I love, do check it out. It's a real fun song if you want to lift your mood and if you want to kind of dance around in your front room in your underpants. Tiger Feet is a great song to do it to. But they also did a song called It'll Be Lonely This Christmas. It'll be lonely this Christmas without you. That's my rendition. And everyone, including my good self, thought that it was by Elvis, because he kind of did the lead singer did an Elvis impression effectively and released this Christmas song, and everyone thinks it's Elvis, but it's not. It's Mud. So there you go. So I was watching this. It just came up on my feed. This Mud documentary. I think the channel was Music Mongoose, which is one of the channels I follow. If I remember, I'll link it in the description box. And it had obviously had a caption and, you know, a title, Mud, M-U-D. Now, I had a distinct memory of them having two Ds, M-U-D-D. Because, you know, often that's the way, isn't it? If a band or a brand uses a name, often they'll change, excuse me, change the spelling on it, which kind of makes sense, makes it more distinctive. Differentiates it from, you know, the thing. And I could have sworn that Mud were M-U-D-D. Now this could be a mistake, because there is another band that's got the name Mud in it, and that is spelled M-U-D-D. But I've never, until I looked it up, I've never consciously, or I don't consciously remember being familiar with that band at all. But the British band Mud, who like I say, I even went to see them and still had this belief that it was M-U-D-D. And the bizarre thing is, this is a tangent warning, and also child warning. They're coming back, 7 million children. I'm a fan of a British magazine, or it's actually a comic for adults, called Viz, which is kind of a humorous comic. It's kind of aimed at people like me that grew up with the Beano and the Dandy and Whizzer and Chips and all those kind of comics. And it's a kind of a satire on those, plus a whole bunch of adult humour, some of which is kind of very puerile and smutty, and some of which is actually quite what's the word? Quite erudite, quite intellectual, quite clever. So it's a fine magazine, not for everyone. Some people will find it offensive. VIZ, and you can get it. It's produced in the UK. I've come across it and found it in New Zealand, but I don't know if you'd find it outside of the UK. So if you're not offended by smut and stuff like that, then check out Viz. Now they have like a letters page, not like a letters page, it is a letters page, and they have things like top tips that people write in, and they're usually in a sort of certain style. And I haven't seen signs saying Mud on Road. In my little head, because this is how my stupid neurodivergent brain works, it kind of plays around with words all the time. You know, living in the countryside, quite often farmers, I think it's actually a legal requirement to warn people if they've made the road muddy, and they put signs that saying warning Mud on Road. And I thought I'd write a silly letter to Viz saying, you know, I saw a sign, something along the lines of, I saw a sign on the road saying Mud on Road. Imagine my delight, you know, being a fan of this sort of 70s glam band and wanting to go and see them. And while I was looking forward to that and distracted, I slid and crashed my car due to the road being very slippery and muddy. And you know, why can't farmers warn people, or something like that? It wasn't, like I say, it wasn't the most hilarious of jokes ever, but it kind of tickled me, and I was kind of trying to frame it in my head. And then I thought, oh yeah, but it's spelled M-U-D-D, not M-U-D, so that'll spoil the joke. This is the trouble with like written jokes, isn't it? So for example, I always think, I've done videos on alien big cats. Check out my video on that. And one of the things that one of the little jokes that tickle me is, if you're interested in alien big cats, follow the links. Which works as a verbal joke, but as soon as you spell it, it spoils it. So so it was a bit like that, really. Anyway, it was a crap joke, but it was something that was weaving its way in my little head in the way that my little head does. And I don't know if anyone else is like that, with anyone else neurodivergent, and you make little jokes in your head, or you just play with words, or you play around with words to try and make them fit, you know, a joke or a poem or something, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But anyway, that's just really, I'm sharing that because that's another example of how I definitely thought they were M-U-D-D, but they are M-U-D, mud, just mud, like mud pie, just like how we use the word mud in any other context. And I googled it. I thought, oh, maybe they were M-U-D-D at one point, or maybe they had an album called, you know, M-U-D, M-U-D-D, or anything really, anything. And no, they've always been MUD. I mean, I think they were called other things before they were called mud, but not any kind of derivative of mud or muddy or anything like that. So so my memory, which is, and I was adamant about this, that it was MUDD, it's MUD. So anyone else got this Mandela effect with the band Mud? Has anyone else ever heard of Mud or remembered Mud? That's probably going to limit it to a few people, not that many. But anybody had a Mandela effect? Let me know if you've had a Mandela effect. Put that in the comment. Any sort of Mandela effect. Any memories of Mud? Any comments about glam rock, 70s music, particularly 70s British music, the band Mud, anything at all, as long as it's polite and friendly, because it's all about having a bit of fun at the end of it. It's social media, it's not anti-social media. There are too many people on here that are antisocial. Antisocial not in the meaning of, you know, being a little bit reserved or avoidant of people, but, you know, being you know, kind of pseudo-criminal, you know, kind of harmful, antagonistic towards one's fellow man and woman. So there we go. I think I've covered everything. Check out my other videos on, I think I've got a playlist for Mandela effects. I'm glad I found the word effect in the end. Mud, Kiss and Angela Lansbury, what do they all have in common? Well, for me, they're all Mandela effects. So yeah, so the Mandela effect, is it real? You know, well, is it real? Yes, it's real, because it's a phenomenon that people experience. What causes it? That's something we haven't touched on. There are all sorts of theories, including like glitches in the matrix, alternate universes that we slip into, all that kind of thing, and it could just be misremembering things. Who knows? And obviously, you know, there's never one cause for any one phenomena. It's always like a number of things, like headaches. I always use that as an example. You know, thousands of different things can cause a headache. We never just say, oh, I've got a headache, therefore, you know, it must be caused by X. And I think that applies to almost every phenomena that occurs. And Scott Peck talks a lot about this. But we won't go too much into that, because I talk about that in some of my other Mandela effect videos. But just to say, really, my approach to anything woo-woo, paranormal, weird, is open-mindedness, and try and generate as many causative theories as possible, holding the belief that they could all be true at different times, and not rigidly adhering to any kind of belief systems, holding on to working hypotheses and theories rather than beliefs, because beliefs, I think, can trap you. Beliefs can be useful. Beliefs can sometimes you know, help people form values and a sense of being grounded in reality and in the universe. So I'm not saying you know, don't have beliefs, but personally for me, I find working hypotheses are far more healthy and helpful than beliefs, and that enables me also to step out of my own paradigm, my own way of seeing things, and see things from other people's perspective. So for example, if a client comes to me with some paranormal trauma, and they're coming from a very defined belief system that, you know, what I experienced was X and was caused by Y, I'm not going to say, oh no, it certainly wasn't. You know, I'm gonna work with that, you know, work in their frame of reference, and, you know, be supportive to them in you know, as much as I possibly can. So I'm not in the business of making people wrong or trying to make people believe things. That for God's sake, don't go around believing anything that I say on my videos, because it's all theoretical. Some things are a little bit more kind of factual, you know, where they're data based and that kind of thing, but a big chunk of what I talk about on here is theoretical. So don't go adopting my belief systems. What I would encourage, if I was to evangelize about anything, is critical thinking. And you know, I would encourage everyone to develop critical thinking, because you know, it's extremely important, both for ourselves and for the world around us. So critical thinking is something maybe I would evangelize around, something I espouse myself, but other than that, you know, I don't want to apart from that and kindness, I guess, kindness and critical thinking. Other than that, I don't really want to influence people's beliefs too much. But I would like to encourage people to think, which is critical thinking thing, really, isn't it? I like to put as many decent theories out there as possible, so that so that we can think broadly. Now, let me finish by just giving you a little look at these grey-lag geese and their offspring. Now, apparently grey-lag geese are the traditional, the oldest established goose species in the country, but I've never seen them apart from when I've been here. Canada geese seem to have taken over. 2 grey-lag geese with their little babies. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for watching and supporting the channel and all that we do. And yeah, let's meet in the comments and have a nice chat. Rangimarie.